Hello, and welcome to Craft Hags. I'm your host, Danielle M. Hartel. Yeah. I was making fun of Jerry from C-Team there. But, yeah, welcome to Craft Hags. This is episode 3, and, wow, this light's really bright this week. What happened? Alright, let's try that. Hi. Today, we're going to be making Scrummy's shirt, and it's going to be super cool. I'm actually really excited for this one. I mean, I'm always excited for craft tags, but for this one, it's there's much hype, at least to me. Are you guys getting crackling? Let me know if that's better. Oh, no, it's not. It only does it when I talk. I am so sorry. One sec. Let's try again here. Nope, it's still doing it, isn't it? Yeah. Alright. Let's see if I can fix this. Sorry, guys. Let me mess with my sound real quick.
Hey, does that sound any better, you guys? Great now? Okay, I've had some trouble with this headset. Well, we just won't use the headset today. Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but, yeah, I'm using the mic on my laptop now, so I'm gonna have to figure out what's wrong with my headset before next week. And now my hair's all crazy. Whatever. Anyway, welcome to Craft Tags. This is episode 3. Sorry about the noise. It's gonna be a little weird for this episode. But yeah, I'm really excited because I'm gonna be dyeing leather today. It's gonna be like really cool and different, and we're gonna see if we can get some cool splotch marks, stuff like that. Yeah, so I've got all these really cool dyes. Sorry the light's so bright. They're from Dharma Trading. I've messed around with them just a little bit. This is my first time using them. I usually use jacquard dyes, but I don't know, I just thought I'd try something new this time. They had a lot of really cool colors, and some of them were a little bit cheaper. So yesterday, I played around with the colors I bought. I bought like 8 colors. And this is just some raw silk gauze. You can see how thin it is. It's very, very light. Yeah, we got like a crazy yellow, we got a red, we got a blue, we got a green, we got a purple. You can't really see very well, but this is like a mauve. And then there's like a couple other more subtle colors in there, but when you mix them all together, they end up making these really cool, like, kind of rotten green, yellow, purple mixes, which is awesome! And that's what we want for Scrummy's cloak. This is actually what we'll be felting onto when I do make the cloak, so I wanted to try out those dyes on this silk before we got to that part anyway, so it was good prep for a future episode. It just starts out white. You can order the silk from Dharma Trading too if felting sounds like something you'd be into. This is the same dyes on a scrap of this leather, and I just tried them out. Obviously, we're working with a very different material. These aren't even necessarily designed for leather. But yeah, I wanted to see how it worked on this really orangey yellow color too. And just so you know, this is the side of the leather I'm supposed to be using. I really love looking at the back sides of leather hides, especially for really messy characters like Scrummy. For any of you who aren't aware of Scrummy or you're just tuning in for the first time, a few weeks ago we made this really cool reference sheet. This is just where I keep all my notes, and then this is the whole palette of the costume, and that way I can constantly be checking what she's supposed to look like, if my colors are matching, and especially when we're doing dye jobs like this, having this nearby so we can just be like, oh, yep, or nope. I mean, like, obviously, I got this cool yellow, but that yellow and that yellow are not the same. So it's really good just to keep yourself in check. Because, like, I like this yellow, but that's not what I planned. So, especially if you're someone who gets excited quite easily like me, it's good to have something to just remind you what you were doing in the first place. And then I printed out a big one of Scrummy too, so you guys can see. And there's our friend, the Overlay Dot. Hi, Overlay Dot. Nice to see you. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be making her tunic today. That's this part. I know it's a little hard to see. My camera likes to focus on the table and nothing else. But what I did yesterday was I did the same saran wrap trick where I just wrapped my whole body in saran wrap and then packing tape, and I cut, and because this is going to be a skin tight garment, that's just the easiest way for me to get a perfect pattern of my body. You could always get a dress form and take your measurements and, adjust the dress form and stuff, but for me, actually, my dress form that I got a few years ago from like a Christmas sale at Joann Fabrics, it just busted completely. It's now held together with duct tape, and so I can't really adjust it anymore. It's not the right height. There's a lot of reasons why I hate this thing. But it's gonna be fun to see it come together, though. Originally, I wanted it to be like scraps of leather that made it look like Scrummy got these all at separate times because she's a gnome that lives with myconids, and the myconids have a group of them who are called the Circle of Hunters, and the Circle of Hunters will find animals that have deceased recently and bring them back to nourish their young. These are mushroom people, by the way, if you don't know what a myconid is. It's a D&D thing. We do D&D stuff here. But yeah, so these are going to be scraps that she, found from animals, and just used them, in a recycling sort of way to make what she's wearing all the time. Also, they don't really have stores and stuff, in the Neverlight Grove, which is where the myconids live, and that's where she lived with them. So she probably made everything that she owns. And that's kind of the look we're going for with this whole costume. So after doing the pattern thing yesterday with the saran wrap, I cut it into pieces, and then safety pinned it all back together just to make sure it fit right. So I know this fits already. That'll be the cool part. So once I cut up some of the edges. I wanted to make sure I knew exactly how they were all going to fit together since they're all kind of scrappy pieces. And I know they fit great together, and I've already snipped up some of the edges just to vary. I mean, like here you can still see a pretty good straight edge. And then I took it all apart again. I took all the safety pins out, and I marked kind of like a puzzle, how the pieces go together. So, oh, and I roughed up all the edges with a sanding block. And by sanding block, I mean one of these. It's just got really rough sanding paper on it. And, yeah, a sanding block. Pretty self-explanatory. So what you do now is you can see, some of it kind of got sanded off, but you can see how these are going to fit together because of the symbols I made. And they're all different symbols. But so, like, obviously, those pieces don't go together. Let's see. Ooh, here's another piece. So this will kind of be like a puzzle. And I'm pointing at these things when I say the symbols I made. They're kind of like little runes. Hi everybody in the chat, by the way. I see you guys. Somebody TK asked if it's a supportive tunic. It will be tight if that's what you mean. But beyond that, I pretty much figured that Scrummy isn't going to be wearing a lot of like tight-fitting, feminine-looking garments, I should say. Just because I don't think Scrummy even really has an idea of what a girl or a guy are supposed to look like. Just because growing up with Mike and Id, they don't have genders, and I didn't want her to look too sexy, you know. I mean, Scrummy is sexy, don't get me wrong. Just not the obvious interpretation of sexy. And by the way, this leather is so soft. It's like, it looks really gross, but it's like really comfy, especially because I hit it with that sandpaper. And so I'm just safety pinning these together. This will hold the garment together while I do my really messy stitching, too. Because these edges do not match up, like, it's not really easy to tell how they're supposed to be put together, like normal seams would. So there's one already. Pull it apart. And then it's kind of going to look like that. Question, do you continue to work on this costume off-stream and save certain bits for the stream? Curious for my own craft stream approach. Yeah, that's kind of the approach I wanted this year with Craft Hags, because last year I really wanted to kind of do like mini lessons, sort of, not lessons, but just kind of, you know, crafts basically that one could watch in an entire episode, and then it wouldn't matter, like, what order I did them in or anything, but I found that, like, it's kind of hard to make a show with episodes and expect to get the whole thing done all in one stream, and sometimes I didn't have enough time to finish what I had started off stream. So instead of doing a bunch of little fun crafts and stuff, I've decided this year we're just going to be doing Scrummy every episode, and then I'm just going to share with you where I'm at in the process every Monday. So yeah, I do work on this, and I have other jobs too that I will be working on that I don't share with you guys until they're done, just because of NDA purposes and stuff like that. But with Scrummy, I decided it would just be one big project. I could just pop on, share with you where I'm at, what I've done, and yeah, so there will be a lot that you don't see on stream, but I am kind of planning episodes too, just because I know some of it's going to be super, super boring, and nobody wants to watch that, and other parts, I do want to share with you guys, so I will be saving them for an episode. So, kind of all over the place with that, but that's the general plan. And then if you do miss out on an episode and you want to make sure you haven't missed anything, I have started a Twitter moment, which is where you can go and see the big just dump pile of photos from where I'm at and what I've been doing, and that's where you'll see the off-stream stuff too. So yeah, I know that they posted, oh, Obo Crazy is already in the chat with the Twitter moment. Thank you, Obo. You're the best. Everybody say thank you, Obo. Actually, her name's Lauren, but I call her Obo. Obo's so cute. Yeah, look at that. Matching up some of those little things. Obo Crazy is an accurate name to call me. Good to know. Let's see what else we can find here. Some of these don't have marks down the side. That means it's the middle center, front, words, lots of words. I'm actually really excited for this garment. This piece is so freaking cool. Like when it's on. Can't wait to show you guys. All right, let's find. Here, these go together. Oh, we've got a mess. Okay. Yeah, see, obviously these are quite messy. As in, you're not really going to know what goes with what. TK asks, what are you planning on stitching the seams with? I have got natural colored artificial sinew. I figured it's kind of the most natural looking thread type thing that Scrummy might get her hands on. It looks like this. It's kind of gross looking actually. It almost looks like straw, but it's greasy. For anybody who isn't familiar with sinew. They make natural sinew too, but I think it's really expensive. And it's like, I can't even remember what it's actually made out of. It might just be muscle sinew, like, you know? I know some people like to stitch with horsehair and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I really like the look of sinew, especially for a character like Scrummy. Because it is like based on something made from a body part, which is like so Scrummy. And it just kind of looks gross. I like it. For the lacing though, I do want to find a lacing that I'll lace up the front with, the front center, because that's how I'm going to get in and out of this thing. I thought about putting in like a hidden zipper somewhere so it's really easy to get in and out of, but I haven't. I don't know. I can't think of a place to put that where it won't be visible and also that it won't look dumb. I don't know. Dumb to me, at least. Obviously, I would love a zipper, but especially, I mean, the thing with this though is like, here's another really important part of costume design that I haven't even touched on. How do you pee? Like, basic question, right? But I've made myself a monster suit or two that definitely was not easy to get in and out of in the first place, and then also, like, I was working long hours wearing these monster suits, so it would have been very smart of me to think about that while designing the costume. Luckily, I have thought about this for Scrummy, and she is going to be able to lift up her skirt and pull down her pants, and that's going to be as complicated as it gets. Which is great, especially if I decide to wear this to a convention, or, like, let's say this were for a movie. If I'm out on location shooting this movie in this costume, and let's say I have a porta potty, and maybe no one to help me in and out of the costume, that's the other thing. If you're going to bring a friend that's going to hold your skirt for you, that's great, but a lot of us don't have friends like that, so, or we just can't bring our friends with us everywhere. So yeah, we got those matched up nicely. You guys just wait, we're gonna get to the fun part any minute now. Any minute now! Alright, so now we've got, like... No! Taurus be a stinger, there is no movie. I wish there were a movie. So I found the little... Oh. Apparently this goes here. Hi, husband! My headset broke, so the whole room is on my...
Oh, okay.
So don't
Hi, everybody.
Don't fart too loud. My husband brought me food! He's the best. I'm gonna let that cool down because it's really freaking hot. Best husband ever is correct, you guys. Jerry Holkins has called him premium husband experience, which means, you know, it's good. He's a good boy. I like him. I'll keep him. So yeah, I'm just blindly following the marks that I put on here last time, before I ripped this all apart. Yeah, everybody eat. It's really good for you. Obo Crazy is taking back her husband remarks because apparently her husband is the best. Which is correct. Her husband is always the best husband. Everybody's husband is always the best husband. That's how it should be. Alright. Guys, we only have a couple more pieces to put together. This is coming together so quickly. Can't wait to show you guys what this looks like. I'm quite excited about it. Because it's like insta-Scrummy. Like, it turns me into Scrummy so quickly. And then once it's all together, we'll start dyeing. And these safety pins might rust, but we'll see. Hopefully they don't. I mean, hey, a little rust on a Scrummy costume isn't going to ruin it anyway, so I don't know what I'm worried about. Alright, so this is the last piece that goes on the front here. Match up all our little marks. I don't know if you guys can see them. It was really hard making up so many different kinds of marks. Had to invent runes to mark all these pieces together. By the way, I just want to say, like, I'm in love with this leather because it's like super gross on the backside. And I don't know what they did here or why it's so gross. I don't understand. Like, we've guessed, like, maybe it was just taken off the animal not very well. I don't know. But I wish they would do that more. So there was more stuff like this to work with, because I don't find leather that looks like this very often. And I would love to try to find some synthetic alternatives that look like this, but this is just so good. I mean, look at this. Look at how gross that is. You can't fake that. I mean, you can, but I'm sure it's a ton of work. We'll see. Maybe someday I'll figure out how to do that with vinyl or whatever. Faux suede. Who knows? I saw a question. Snack Hags will have to be co-hosted by Holly in Strix uniform. Done! Holly, call me! Man! Don't even get me started on ideas for streams, because Snack Hags with Strix and Scrummy, where Holly and I just talk about tea and pastries and maybe cook shit, like, yes, please. I would be so down for that. Alright. Get all these turned around. Let's see what's going on with these. Swamp Hag pastries aren't gonna bake themselves. You're right. We probably need to get on this. So this is the top of the tunic. Oh, derp! I was looking on the wrong side. You guys. You guys. I'm gonna embarrass myself here. Don't forget to brew drinks. Holly, oh, yeah. This would obviously also be a drinking stream. For sure. I remember the first time Holly and I went to a convention together as the Batiri Goblins, actually. We went to Origins and had so much fun down at the market, down the street, and we found like a couple bottles of mead that we had never seen before, and we got some, I don't know, some snacks. It was great, and we just sat around and chatted and drank delicious mead, and it was wonderful. My fingers are going to be sore after all this. Oh, and so this goes over here. They really should sell, like, shirt puzzles, you know? Like, here, just match up the edges and then put it together. And you have a shirt. That'd be fun. Yeah, I'm glad everybody likes this idea. Maybe Holly and I will have to do a brainstorming session. Not that either of us have time for more stuff right now, but, you know. It's fun to dream. speaking of drinking, I think soon I will be going back onto Acquisitions Intoxicated, which is over on the Penny Arcade Twitch channel. Their show is on Tuesdays, around noonish, I think, maybe 11. I need to check. Everybody's changed their schedules lately, and I don't know when anybody does anything anymore. But they brewed a Scrummy cider with me last time I was hanging out with them. And oh my god, it was so fun. And they had some crazy suggestions for like Scrummy and how to make a drink based on her life. It was crazy cool. And it sounds delicious. Like, and we were also drinking and we had a great time. So if you guys are into that sort of thing, now that you guys know all about Scrummy, that would be an interesting watch. If that's kind of your thing. And they built a recipe based on Scrummy to make a cider, and it's called Pond Scrum, which is adorable. And I can't wait to go back because I think they will have had it brewed, and we can taste it and talk more about Scrummy and our fun characters and drinks of all kinds. It's a great show. It's one of my favorite shows that I watch in my spare time. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug it. But yeah, that'll be fun. Hopefully I get to go back over there soon. I live on the other side of the state from them, so we gotta coordinate those sorts of things, but I love hanging out with those guys any chance I get. Alright. Now what's missing here? Oh, someone in the chat is talking about a Mead that they had. Mead is definitely an all-over-the-place type thing. I would definitely give it another chance if you get the opportunity to try more than one type of mead. I used to work at a cidery where they brewed cider. I don't know if they made cider. The alcoholic kind. And if any of you are in Colorado, it's called Scrumpies. Scrumpy is like a term for a traditional cider. And that's Scrumpy, not Scrummy. They are different. I know I mumble sometimes, but go ahead, check them out. They are a cider bar where they make their own cider. They make delicious cider, by the way, like raspberry jalapeno cider, which was delicious. And we made a pineapple cider, but I also got to meet a lot of Mead distributors, and there are some that definitely use some herbs and stuff that I don't personally like in meads very much. I think one of them was juniper. There was. It might not have been juniper. Like, don't write off juniper if you find a juniper mead. Definitely try it. But there was a couple flavors that were like, whoa. But they were all over the place too. Like, so many cool flavors. I like mead a lot. But it gives me a headache because it has a lot of sugar in it. Look at this, guys! Our tunic is together. You can kind of start to see the shape. Let me just make sure it all looks right. Yeah. Check it out! Oh, yeah. Somebody wants to bring up John Mahoney. Some of you might know that I'm obsessed with Frasier, and one of the actors died from Frasier. I'm so sad, but I've been like binging Frasier ever since. So, look at this. Such cute, right? Oh my god. I know you can't see the rest of it. but it goes down probably about mid-thigh, and it'll be laced all the way up my neck like this, which is super freaking cute. And then, if I want it tighter, I can, like, because I've got all these big spaced areas, I can just tighten these when I stitch them, and then it'll stitch all the way up my neck like this. So she's got kind of like a little turtleneck thing. Pour out a Valentine in his honor! Yep. I'm glad I can talk about Frasier with you guys, because there aren't a lot of people that really even care. But yeah, look, this is kind of what it'll look like. Try not to move my neck too much so it doesn't flop over. But yeah, super cute. I'm very excited, and then once you look at, let's look at the big picture. See how this kind of comes up to her neck? Now the problem here is obviously this is, you can kind of see some of the yellow in patches, but it's mostly greenish gray. And then she'll have these jawbones on top. But yeah, we definitely need to alter the color, because this is like, you know, bright, warm tan, which is not scrummy. So what we're going to be doing is mixing colors and seeing, you know, is this enough? See how there's kind of like a splotch here? Like, it's a very subtle change, but it will change how dark it is. There's some green over here that's very faint. Obviously doesn't show up very well. So over here we get some other colors, and you can see there's like a patch where the dye didn't stick. That's because that's the paint coating that's on the other side. And we can totally scrape that off with the sanding block if we want, but I also kind of like how it messes with the dye a little bit. You can see it on the edge here too. It kind of almost looks like rotten and gross. But yeah, so we do have the option of making this leather much darker, like this, but that's probably even too dark based on our, I mean, yeah, this is more close to her cloak color. And for the top of her body and stuff, we want this to be lightish. I mean, in comparison to the cloak, it will still be pretty dark. So now that our cloaks are, our tunic is all together, I'm going to go ahead and move the safety pins. And I've got the beads here, and then some little animal skulls, and here's the jawbones I'll be molding. I know you guys can't see them very well, but these will all be things that I add to this after it's dyed. So I'm just leaving them on the table so I can see the new color next to the things I'm going to be putting on it. I'll show you the beads for a second. There's some of these blue ones will be on the cloak. But then some of these other ones are especially cool. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus. Nope, not at all. Gosh, that's awful. I'll post pictures of these later so you can actually see what I'm doing, but these beads are black on one side and then like a creamy tan on the other side. So depending on which way I flip them when I sew them on, they could look like little maggots. They could look like some of these are almost white, like they're like a pearlescent white. They might look like slimy little bugs. They might look like mold, depending on how I patch them together in random spots. But because I plan on putting all these on the garment later, just having them out so that so I know I can match my colors while I'm dyeing will be super helpful and save me a lot of time. So what I'm going to do, just clean out my mess a little bit. Somebody asked, what patron does Scrummy have? It's Zugtmoy, the queen of fungi and mushrooms. which is why she looks so gross. So, this is my broken dress form. I'm gonna touch her up, but I'm going to, just to keep the dress form nice, because I'm going to be dyeing on her, we're going to put her in a bag. Now we're going to duct tape her. We're just torturing this mannequin. Man, my streams are getting weird, you guys. Oh boy. We got feet streams last week. Torture this week. What's next? I'm also not advocating that anybody do any sort of mushroom. Just for clarification, you guys. Oh, thank you. Obo Crazy has posted the link of my time at Acquisitions Intoxicated, where they made a cider based on this character. Sorry about all the sound. I know usually I like to use a headset for this reason. There's a lot of noise that comes with making stuff, and I know it messes with the mics and stuff, so I'm going to really try to get that headset figured out, because it can't be that fun to listen to. Oh, now everybody's talking about mushrooms. Morels are great. If you guys are really actually interested in mushrooms, you need to look up Paul Stamets. That's S-T-A-M-E-T-S. He's a myconologist, and he's incredible, and he's doing great scientific work with mushrooms, and he has a lot to say about them, and it's all very interesting stuff, at least in my opinion. And he's saving the bees, you guys! You'll see. He's figured out some really cool stuff that's really good for nature. So check out Paul Stamets. There's specifically a Joe Rogan podcast that I really enjoyed, where Paul talked about all his work. And if any of you watched me on Misclicks, this was a complete coincidence, but the same week that I saw the Paul Stamets Joe Rogan podcast, Curtis Weeb, our DM, actually made an NPC based on Paul Stamets, and so when I met Paul Stamets in our D&D game, I was like, and it was really hard to hide my enthusiasm. Still wrapping up this girl. Alright, now see our body here. Hang on, somebody's at the door. Is it mine? It's wool! You guys, the wool is here! I'm gonna open that as soon as we get this thing handled. 'Cause that's all the wool for Scrummy's cloak. Like, it just came. That's hilarious. So we're gonna put this on our little body double here. Yeah. I know I look like Dexter right now, but I'm not, I promise. This is gonna be so silly. Ah! Yeah, I didn't set up my camera for this. Not at all. But don't worry, it won't stay like this very long. All I'm doing is pinning this to the body double so that I can see where on my body I'm going to be creating these colors. Because I am going to kind of paint the dye on in a way that will flatter my body, and also I can control like where the focal point is. So yeah, that's better. Yeah, look at this, guys. It looks so good. I'm so excited. Sorry, the more excited I get, the more I don't stay on track with what I'm talking about. But yeah, look at this. It's going to look so cool. This is the line that runs down the middle. This is where we'll have some sort of lacing. And I'm going to decide on the lacing after I've got my colors, because I have black lacing, but like that might be so bold going down the middle, and if that's not what I want people to look at, I'll have to find a lacing that doesn't like draw too much attention to itself there. So we're going to decide on that after we get the dyeing done. I'm actually going to start my hot water. I have a little electric kettle here on the corner of my table, and it's going to boil some water for us, because with these dyes you do want at least 200 degrees, I think. And they've got all sorts of directions about how you should be doing this, and like, I would say definitely follow those directions if you can, but that's usually for dip dyeing too, like when you get a big tub. You guys are going to be able to hear the hot water because we don't have the normal mic, but yeah, we're going to try to stay as close to these directions as possible, but it's not going to work out that way. I'm going to eat some food while our water heats up. This will be fun. Hey, if you have questions for me, now's a great time to do that. These are really good. So I see a question. Where'd it go? Are you going to be using a thickener at all for the application? Nope. I'm just going to be painting it on with brushes, and it'll be very splotchy, but that's fine. Someone, I can't find it now, but somebody asked if I was using a reference. I made my own reference. I drew all this. I started with a picture of my body, and then I drew on top of it just to know exactly how it was going to look on my frame. And if I wanted any part of my body to look different, I would have to make that part of the costume. So that's the reference I'm working from, and this will help me control my colors too. So I've just got this off to the side. The hot water is really loud. Feeding screen. So, TK, I noticed you asked me what texture brush I'm using. I hadn't even picked my brushes out from my storage room yet, but I'm just using chip brushes like this. They come in varying sizes. Some of them are really skinny too. I don't have any of those left, but because this is such a big project, these big ones are fine. And yeah, they're just like the garbagey chip brushes you use for, and you just throw them away again. Right. I really hope this mustard isn't that spicy. Cool, and our water's done. Yeah, Griffin, this is all done in Photoshop, and then I just print them out. But yeah, I would really love to mess around with 3D. There's a lot of reasons I want to mess around with 3D. But yeah, these big brushes will make for really good splotchy designs. Now that our water's all boiled, pour some of it out. And I'm also not doing this like the 100% recommended way, not only in the application, but also like you should be wearing a lot of safety equipment. Just make sure you're being good to yourself. We're using very small amounts, so I'm just going to use gloves because you can become sensitive to these chemicals. Even if they don't hurt you the first time or the second time, the third time might be different, the fourth time might be real bad, you never know. So just be good to yourself, okay guys? Jeez. And then with my Scrummy reference just off to the side here, I'll put it right there so you guys can kind of see what we're doing. Let's start, I think. Let's get out our little swatch. What happened to our swatch? There it is. It's way under there. So yeah, I think we're going to start with this green, actually, because I want to start with the lightest. We can always go darker. We can't go lighter. So we're going to start with the lightest. I really like this green too. It's super gross looking. There's also like kind of an orange splotch here. I'd really like to get those in there before I go darker. And I'm pretty sure that was avocado and golden poppy. Olive brown's really good too. We'll try these first. These will be the crazy colored ones. So I'm just gonna take a little cup like this, pour some hot water in there. You don't want to do too much or you'll melt your little cup. This is like boiling water. And we're just gonna take like the smallest little pinch. Ooh, cool. Yeah, you can kind of see all the different colors going on in there. Like there's some yellows. I know it's hard to look at water, and there's a light right above it, but there's some like greens. But once you stir it in, it gets really dark. So, but there's a lot of cool colors going on in there. Yeah, look at that green. The brush is a little too big. Alright. So let's start down at the bottom here. Not only because the bottom will be darker, but we can also test our colors where people won't necessarily see them immediately. So if like this is way too green, we'll know. And a lot of people would probably tell you to pre-wet whatever you're going to do. Like just get it wet first so that the dye sticks to it better. This is a really big brush. Let's see if we can find a, yeah. I'm going to try this slightly smaller brush. Actually, let's go even smaller. Whoop, that's better. Now it fits in our cup. And there's especially some really cool, you can't see it very well on camera, but there's like a really big, weird splotch here in the leather texture, and I want to bring that out. So I think I'm kind of going to color around it. And I know this will just look like black to you guys on camera, but after it dries, I'm going to post pictures and you guys can see the actual true colors. Because I know it'll be hard to understand on camera. And let's see, that green that we really like, it's this one, I think. It's super subtle on the test, and I know how much I used on my test, so I put more dye in this little batch. I'm actually going to even use more because we do want that green to be pretty prominent, especially if we're going to be covering it up with darker green later, or gray, or whatever. So yeah, the little dye bath just looks like black because it's so saturated, but you guys will see on the Twitter moment later just how green this gets. And then I'm not going back over all of it solidly either, because I want some splotches to be super green, and other splotches to be less green. and then we can mix in other colors where it's less green too, so. And sometimes we're not even going to do it all the way, we're just going to make it splotch. Splotch! And I know I can already see how this is lightening up. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more splotches. Lighter in some areas, really dark in some areas. I also need to keep in mind that there are going to be layers on top of this, and as you can see in the Scrummy drawing, we've got some bones going across my chest, and then I'm going to have a waist cincher that goes on top of this whole part right here, probably from here to here. That's about how big that's going to be. So anything I do in this area, you won't even see. I do want to do it well all over, even though you won't see it, just in case, like, maybe that waist cincher doesn't come together like I hope it does in the future. Or maybe I'm going somewhere really hot to wear this costume, and I really want to take off a couple layers when I get there. Just making sure that every part of your costume is as beautiful as possible, just in case, you know, because you never know. Especially, like, if, let's say I did want to make this for a movie, sometimes, you know, oh, that isn't really reading well on camera, will you take this off, will you take that off? Stuff like that. Just in case they want you to, you know, adapt the costume to their needs, making sure that you're prepared for that is good. Yeah, especially where I've done it really lightly, you can already see some of that green coming out where it's drying. And then I'm really sopping it on in some other places. Before we get too crazy, I'm going to put another trash bag just down on the table like a drop cloth. Straight arrow, that is what I'm doing. It's going to be, she's a mold and mushroom kind of like decay-based character, so while I don't want you to think she's rotting, I want you to feel like her clothes might be rotting, or they probably started to rot, or, you know, she's surrounded by mold and fungus all the time, so if her clothes look that way, that's great. So this definitely isn't like a natural wear sort of pattern. We're doing something a little different. There! And now my nice new table and cutting board won't be covered in crazy yellow and green splotches. But that's a great question, Straight Arrow. Thank you for asking. Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of green going in here. Yeah, she is dirty and she is comfortable with dirt. I think that's kind of the main thing about Scrummy, is that, like, this is also a fun kind of fact about myconids, is that their system of morals is different too. Like, they don't necessarily have a right or wrong thing going on, and neither does Scrummy. And so, like, when they see someone dying, they're just like, well, yeah, that's how this works. That's how life works. Like, that's important. It's an important part of the process of nature, and like that's a very mushroomy thing too. So, um, same with when I have played Scrummy in D&D games in the past. She's always very matter of fact about when she has to do something really disgusting. Um, like, here's a little blurb from a game that I played with Richard Witters, who is the art director for D&D, and a very, very, very close friend of mine. I love him. He's also an amazing DM. Uh, there was a special moonflower or something down in, some underground sewer or something, and this place was inhabited by, he called them shit goblins, and so it was just a really goofy, dumb story, but like, the funny part was, Scrummy was just like, so we need to go dig through the poop to find the flower, right? Okay. And then she just went and did it, and like, because, decay and fecal matter and all that sort of stuff is necessary for life where she comes from, and so she's just like, oh, okay, and just went and did it, and so, on the back of my first character sheet, actually, I drew a really early picture of Scrummy, and she's holding a tiny lily. I think that's actually online. I tweeted it. You can see the little lily, and that's like the moon lily or something. And it was just like a one-off adventure that he planned for us really quick, and we had so much fun, and it was so silly. But yeah, that's one of the few times I've gotten to actually play Scrummy. It was hysterical. And she'll gladly cover herself in a pile of poop to evade capture or notice or, things like that. And now up here, this is the neckline, where my hand is currently. I'll move it into the camera a little better. So this is her neckline. I'm going to be going really light with these just to get that green. We do ultimately want this to be kind of a splotchy gray and green, like a purpley gray mixed with green. So we'll be layering on top of this, and I know it looks super dark, but that's because it's wet. Once it dries, it will look very different, and I'll pull the bottom up again because at this point it should be close to dry, and you'll be able to see what kind of dye has been left behind. I also really like doing this because on a mannequin, because then I can tell exactly like, where are my boobs in here? Like, if you did this flat, you might not really be able to visualize that, but like, I definitely don't want like big old black splotches right here, so it looks like I've like been lactating tar or something. Like, those are things you just don't want people to think about when they look at your costume, and it's important to know, like, especially if you're just putting stuff on stuff, knowing where it's going to hit you on your body is important. Or, like, if I got too light, it would, like, right around the boobs, it would look like I was trying to draw attention to my boobs. And, like, that's not good or bad or anything, I'm not, trying to judge, but, like, that's just not what Scrummy is. So, being aware of those choices as early as possible can be quite helpful. And especially if you're designing for other people, like, they may like or dislike a part of their body more or less, and knowing how to either disguise or enhance parts of the body, even if you're just trying to change the shape of your body to fit a character, those are all really good ways to change the shape, change the look, change your gender, all that sort of stuff. So that stuff can be really helpful when designing. And you'll see there's a bunch of weird splotches right here. That's all the paint that came through the other side of the leather, or it just got you know, smudged on there. So I'm actually going to rough some of it up. Because I don't mind that breakup in the color, but I definitely don't want those splotches to look like something that I decided needed to be there. Because I didn't. It's an accident. Yeah, already they kind of broke up a little bit. Yeah, look at how much green we got on here already. And it's nice and light. It's kind of just a tint. And we're just doing it in splotches. We're not trying to coat this thing evenly, for sure. Yeah, look at that! That's already so much closer to the color we want. Yeah! Yeah! And once this is all dry, it's gonna look so good. And don't worry if you can't really tell what I'm doing. I will be posting so many pictures online with much better lighting. That way you guys can see what we're even doing. So yeah, you can start to see, especially see how it brought out this weird shape in the bottom. This is still super wet, I was wrong. Probably because it was hanging and all the water was dripping to this point over here. Over there, yeah. But what I'm going to do now is go in with some yellow, because I can't really overdo the yellow on this. If it gets really warm, we can just knock it back with some gray later. It'll be cool. So I'm going to take some more of my hot water, start a new little cup here. And where'd my dye go? Golden Poppy, there it is. Bye, Maz. Thanks for stopping by. So we're just taking a little pinch, mixing it in. Trying to be very careful not to inhale this stuff or get it in my eyes, since we're using such small portions. I can pretty much keep it contained. Yeah, here's our Golden Poppy dye. I'm just going to dissolve it. I'm catching up in the chat. Yeah, I really can't wait to show you this when it's all dried up. It's going to be great. These colors are going to be crazy. And especially up near the face, I do want some of that warm, because she gets cooler as she gets closer to the ground, or the pieces on her. It's going to be warm and green up towards the top, and then her cloak and her pants and her shoes are all quite purple and gray, so cool colors. And I've done that on purpose, just to kind of control your eye when you're looking at the costume. And hopefully all this turns out the way I hope, because I've got all these, you know, plans for coloring and stuff like that, and we'll see how it even turns out. Maybe nobody will notice and it'll just be me. But that's okay too. I love how foresty and mossy this looks too. Ugh. It's a lot warmer in person than on camera. It's really nice to look at. I like it. And some of it's really bringing out this gross texture. There's like these flappies that kind of come off the leather a little bit. Looks great! The real test will be getting this wet again and rinsing it, and we'll see how much of the dye sticks, because this stuff isn't designed for leather necessarily, so, and also we're not following the directions very well. We're doing it our own way. But it'll be fun to see how much of it actually works out. And if it doesn't work out, we'll figure out something else. I'm going to set this on our side really quick so we can get some of this to match. Put that under her so she stays still. See how well that works. And we'll hit all our green again. I'm kind of glad that my dress form broke this morning, because I was planning on doing this on the stand, like having the dress form on the stand, but then that would have made a lot of dripping downwards sort of designs, and that's not really what I'm going for. I don't want her to look dripping or like she spilled a bunch of stuff on herself. I want it to kind of look like there's like a mold growing all over her or something. We really want to get all those edges, because if we don't, they'll be bright golden tan. And that's not what we want. Getting my head in the way, I know. Do areas of the leather get saturated and it's hard to dye? Does it take a few coats? Yes and yes. The funny part about dye is that, like, if you did like a big splotch of green in the middle here, and then I took that yellow and put it right in the middle of that green, it like pushes the green out. Kind of like those like dripping dye videos you see online, where they're like dropping a lot of droplets in water and then it pushes it outwards to make a really cool design. You could also do the same thing with water. Like if you wanted to, like if you just had too much dye in one spot, you could go boop. Because this is a water-based dye right now. I think we could have vinegar in it too, so whatever medium you are using, you could desaturate it that way. I mean, not. There's a lot of terms I use that have different meanings. But in this instance, it will be saturated as in wet, but it won't be saturated as in color. Won't you have to remove the safety pins and go over it again? Can see voids around the pins the brush hasn't gotten. This is just the first color I'm doing. I'm toning it a green, but then we'll be darkening it with like a lot of gray and brown. So I'll be making sure to get everything all saturated around the pins, mostly in the darkening stage. So yeah, you are right. Also, it's hard to pay attention to everything on my screen and get every little inch, but I do pay closer attention when I'm not streaming. So don't worry. I'll get all those little edges. Haley asked if I seal my leather. I don't. I haven't really looked into that. Plus, these are like costumes. I'm not going to be like wearing this, you know, day after day in cars and sitting on couches and things like that. If you were wearing or gonna make a garment to wear around a lot, you probably do want to make sure it's not going to seep out. But usually, like a good rinse, just making sure that it's not gonna. Or you could wash it if it's a fabric that you can wash. But I'll get this all wet and rinse it really well until the water runs clear. And then just make sure it doesn't come off on my hands and stuff like that. But beyond that, this is just a costume I'm going to be wearing a few times, and for short periods of time probably, like no more than 8 hours. But yeah, there are totally ways of sealing things so that you don't make a mess all over your nice furniture and stuff. TK says I should be able to heat set the acid dye so it doesn't sweat out. And that the brand I'm using, Dharma, is popular for being color fast. So that's good to know. So I will definitely look into that, because I would love to make sure that I could wear this wherever I wanted. Because I actually like this garment a lot. I might actually wear it. Probably not to the grocery store, say, but if I were just gonna go to a Ren fair or something, or wear it every day for a normal event. A normal Ren fair event. Or, you know, when I play D&D, like, because, you know, dressing up for when you play D&D with your friends is probably really fun, right? And you don't want to get crap all over your DM's couch. Rude. So I'm just going to finish up this green. And I'll go back all over this. Like, I'm not going to make sure I'm doing a perfect job right now, because I do want to get to the other part where I darken it. And I'll come back in with the green and the yellow and stuff before it's all done. This spot's really cool. I really like this hole. It was just a hole in the leather, and I wanted it on my outfit because it looked cool. There's another one right here. But there is that paint all around it, and you can see where the dye isn't sticking. I'm actually going to get it all wet so you guys can see. Exactly where that paint is keeping that dye. There you go. You can totally see it. But I don't really like that weird... It's just like, it looks like a weird pink color. So I'm going to be ripping it up a little bit, trying to sand off that paint. And trying not to rip up the garbage bag. It's kind of rough. I might have to take it off the dress form to really get this going. Because I don't want to rip through these gloves, and I don't want to rip through the garbage bag right now. I'll just have to remember to take care of that, because that's... Yeah, let's keep turning it around. Oh, that looks so cool, you guys. Now that it's actually starting to... Look at that yellow down here. That's so good. And there's some more of it right here. I actually really love how that yellow is coming through. So I might pile it on in a couple more spots. Just to see what it looks like. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm gonna pile on a bunch right here. Yeah. TK says it looks like a rotting forest floor, which is perfect. Could you tell again what kind of warlock you play? This is a gnome warlock who serves Zugtmoy, and she's the mushroom and fungus queen. She's also like a demon. She's not good. I'm really excited to play her and see exactly how Scrummy is going to deal with her patron goddess. Because that sounds hilarious and fun. Yeah, I'm really liking how this color is turning out. And this is just the tone. It does look quite dark right now because parts of it are still wet, but it will get much lighter. There'll be a lot more crazy colors. And then we'll do that gray. Looks like we only have 30 more minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up some of this darker. I think, let's get out our swatch again. I definitely don't want to go this dark immediately, because that's really dark. Let's get our sheet out. Oh look, we got some dye on our sheet. Oh, you guys can't see it. I really need to fix my camera. It's so blown out. Ugh. But anyway, we're making this tunic part here, and we really do want like this at the darkest. So I'm gonna have to try to remember what color that was. I really should have marked what colors were where on here. I want to say it was olive brown, though. Yeah, that looks about right. What kind of leather is it? Someone asked. I don't know. It was like a leather. Where'd my scrap go? There it is. It was I don't know what animal it is, but it's got this weird pattern punched into the back side, and it's got this like kind of pinkish brown paint coating on it. And that's the side you're supposed to use, but we're using the back side because of all of its awesome natural texture. I kind of don't even know how to tell what kind of animal it was. I usually get these out of like a scrap bin too, so they don't always have them all labeled. Probably hippo. Our water is getting much cooler too, just so you're aware of that kind of thing. Like if your water's not hot enough, it might not do what you're hoping it might do. Straight arrow, the Unearthed Arcana for the Circle of, or the Druid of the Circle of Spores, yeah, I think that came out too late. I designed this character like 3 years ago, so definitely didn't have that in mind. She probably would. Like, yeah, somebody just mentioned multi-classing. That would fit in very well with Scrummy for sure. I do have some really fun plans for Scrummy, though, as far as the relationship between her and her patron goddess. So I'm excited to play those out. At some point, I need to find a D&D game to play that in, but it'll be fun seeing how she deals with Zugtmoy. But I have plans. I have plans for her. It'll be deed. I do want to focus on her sleeves, though, because that's where I want it to start getting darker, is down my shoulder. So I'm going to scoot all this over so you guys can see the sleeve right here. Try not to get too much of this in my tea. Just kidding. Yeah, so this is the part of the garment that, like, here's my neck, and then it slopes down, and then this kind of hangs over my shoulder. And I will also be putting felt and beads and maybe some faux moss. I'm not sure. I need to play around with that. It might look too fake for what I need. But I do want to try it out, because that could look very cool. Just subtly here and there. I'm not talking about making, like, some big moss shoulder pads or anything. Like, we won't get too crazy. And then it looks like we've got a little bit more of that paint from the other side of our leather coming through. I'm not going to worry too much about that, since there are going to be a ton of layers of stuff. And then if I decide it's still sticking out too much before it's over, I'll rough that up and make sure it comes out. And don't let me forget to show you the felt that just arrived. The wool, I mean, to make the felt. Somebody said, could we get Scrummy to be featured on a D&D stream on this channel? Dude! I would love that. My current campaign, I play a warlock mystic named Wiley, and she's super fun to play. And I think we are continuing with the same characters on that stream. And I don't know how many other streams I'm going to have time to do, but we'll see. If something could work out, that would be great. You guys stay tuned. I'm sure there will be something. And so I'm going to do a couple extra dollops of this olive brown on the tips here, just to see how dark we can get that color. Oh man, Oppo Crazy's making plans. We definitely need to get Richie to stream at some point playing D&D, because he is one of the best humans on Earth, honestly. He's an incredible man. I love him so much. He's an awesome friend, very talented. Everybody go follow Richard Witters on Twitter. He also has an Instagram. He makes amazing art, and I love him so much. He also posts pictures of his dog, Winston, who's like the cutest. I'm also going to take some of this dark olive brown and hit the bottoms here. Ooh, there's a lot of crazy paint on this, and you'll see it as soon as I get this wet. We'll see, maybe these paint splotches will look cool down here, I don't know. Yeah, you can see where the tan is and then where I've toned it green. This is pretty much drying, so you're starting to get an idea of what the palette looks like, but then I'll post really good pictures after it's all done too. Yeah, look at all that weird, gross. I kind of like those weird stripes though. I might leave those. Those are cool. Oh man. Straight Arrow, you're coming up with some really great ideas. Like, especially like thinking about the character and what kind of bits and pieces on their costume would be useful to them, and how they would use them, and that's like so my jam. Love that stuff. And I'm going to try to bring this dark up into the green in kind of like a gradient, like meaning it'll be really dark down here and it'll be completely absent up here. And so we just want to do like a smooth transition from one end to the other. But obviously, we aren't going to get a smooth transition because this, like, if you wanted to dye like a really smooth gradient, you'd probably dip dye it and do like an ombre. Otherwise, like for Scrummy, doing kind of like some dry brushy random patterns. Or you could get one of those like texture sponges, that might work really well. What I'm doing is like seeping all the dye out of my brush, so it's barely even wet, and then just kind of hitting. But that way we don't have any one spot that's dark and then it gets crazy bright. Yeah, like you can see how dark that is down at the bottom, and it'll, especially once it dries, it won't look so, like, spotty. There's some yellow around the back here. I'm actually gonna spin it so we can do the other sleeve. Get my duct tape. Oh yeah, we got more paint splotches up here, so this will start to look interesting. Yeah, look at all this texture. I mean, this is technically my armpit, so you won't really see much of this, probably, but some good texture there. And let's get this other sleeve going. Enough together. Ooh, there's a big paint splotch. We're gonna have to get rid of that. I don't appreciate that splotch right now. The other thing I really like to do when I can is if I'm distressing a character's outfit and I know they're going to be photographed a lot, I like to shade the sides. So like say this is the middle and then you go to the side. Sometimes your characters can look flat when they're photographed, and so shading the edges or like it's like if you wanted to appear like you had more boob and you would paint it, like if you, I'm not going to say do this, but if you Google cosplay boob makeup tutorial or something like that, you might get a lot of videos showing you how to like fake cleavage with eyeshadow on your chest, and it's a really super good idea, but like especially if you don't want to wear like a crazy push-up bra or something like that, you can get some really impressive results. I don't know. I'm having trouble choosing my words right now, but they I like to do that kind of the same idea with my characters, because then instead of looking like a flat piece of paper kind of character, you can really look more dimensional and it looks a lot better. So like especially around the waist, I'll like shade on the side so that it kind of looks like it's in shadow more. And like obviously my waist is round. I'm not trying to fake any shapes that aren't there, but it just helps the shapes that are there stand out. And so the middle of my garment, like, and my face and everything is going to be a lot lighter, and then as we get out to either side, it will be shaded more too. And that's just to create a little bit more visual dimension, like I'm a 3D object instead of like a, you know, it looks better in the lighting too. And so we'll be doing some, you guys will see once it's all dry, it'll fade darker around the edges of me and look very dimensional, which is a super cool look. Someone said brushing on the poop. That is exactly right what we're doing. You guys are like so, you get Scrummy now. I'm so glad. All the poop. Scrummy is pro poop. Poop is good for life. I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of this dark that I've got here. Just a little bit left here. So you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about now. See how when you make the edges darker, it makes the waist look smaller, but then also it just gives it like a rounder dimensional shape instead of just being one flat color. For anybody just tuning in, or if you've tuned in since I've explained what we're even doing, this is just the pieces of a garment, and once it's all dyed, I'm going to take stitching with my artificial sinew and do this sort of thing. This will actually be a really nice test to see what the stitching looks like, because I did want to see if the sinew was going to stand out too much. And I don't think it will. I think it'll be perfect. But we're just going to stitch all these up so it'll be a lot more durable. Because you're right, I totally should not wear this if it's just safety pinned together. And hope to have a good day, you know? Like, there are better ways to make garments. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I should have been explaining along the whole time. But, especially once this is dry, it'll look so nasty and cool, especially with all these, like, messy stitches. Because I really want this to look like Scrummy made it. But it will end up looking like that. And I know you guys can't see that very well. I'm super sorry. I'm gonna be having a real long chat with my headphones and with my camera, and see if we can get this stream optimized, because we've had some issues today. Thank you for being patient with me also. I really appreciate it, guys. You guys are the best. I'm glad you think that looks much nicer. I'm excited. It's going to be a super cool garment, especially once it's all colored up. And this is starting to dry. This is just the tinted green. It will get darker. Yeah, look at all those nice colors. See, we've got like some orange splotch here. The rest is pretty much green, but then down by the bottom we've got this nice gray. Let's see what this sleeve looks like. That's still very wet, so maybe we do this one first. TK, I am just going to be doing kind of a whatever stitch. I really wanted it to look like Scrummy was just kind of fixing her garments when she could, without having to, like, really think about it, because Scrummy doesn't know anything about sewing, so we're gonna pretend I don't either! Not that I really know that much, but yeah, you can start to see this olive brown. This is starting to dry, and it's gonna be a little more gray and dark as I layer on some more of these purple colors, and then I've got like a nice warm black, which I'll be using very sparingly, but this will get a lot darker. But yeah, we've got 10 more minutes left, so I want to say thank you really quick to Sirenscape for letting me play their sound sets on my show. I'm actually going to be tweeting out a Twitter poll, so follow at CraftHags on Twitter, and I'm going to be letting you guys choose what sound set we listen to next week, so stay tuned for that. Well, let's get to the presents. Presents. And also, I should mention, there is a Twitter moment. It's just a big old pile of pictures from this project. If you miss a week, check out the Twitter moment. That's where all my progress pictures will be shared. It's going to be great. That's where you'll also be able to see this a lot better, so please check it out. This is going to be, like, way cooler looking when I'm not trying to show it to you with my awful camera. Yeah, look at this! Oh my god, you guys. We have wool. I'm gonna move this. I That looks gross. Dudes! Dudes! Ah! Look at all this stuff. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah! And just for reference, I really only ordered purples and some of the weirder colors that I didn't already own, because I do have a ton of wool in my storeroom upstairs. And so this isn't just the colors we'll be using, but I also got some really fun, like, neon yellow Angelina, and I'm gonna test to see if it shows up in a black light, because if I can get some, like, faux bioluminescence stuff happening in this cloak that I make out of all this wool, like, freaking cool, right? So we're gonna try that. That's why I got this. This is like, I think for sure it should show up in a black light, but I'll test, and I'll update you guys on Twitter about that. I got all this from World of Wool, by the way. They're a great company. I like them a lot. They've got a ton of wool if you're into felting. They've got a ton of these cool little fibers to mix in, too. This is called Ultraviolet. I know it's really hard to see. I'll post a lot of pictures of these, I promise, because I'm obsessed with these. But, like, it just adds, like, kind of a really subtle twinkle. If you want to see some of the work I've already done like this, there's specifically Cathris Draub is a C-Team character. On Acquisitions Incorporated, the C-Team, I made all of their costumes not too long ago, and I used all this kind of stuff, and especially if you go to, like, a video, like, of their last game at Hags South, I want to say. We did a live show there, and you can especially see all the glinting sparkles in his Cloak of Stars that I made for him out of this exact same stuff. So, I also just wanted to show you some of the gross things I got. This is wool. What are they called? Wool slubs. These are like the little mats from the sheep hair that they like comb out. But I'm going to be dyeing these with a bunch of these dyes and making kind of like these gross knobby textures in my cloak for Scrummy. It's going to be really cool. So I can make these whatever color I want. They kind of look like maggots and worms and stuff, so I might even, like, play that up a little bit? I don't know. We'll see. Then I got some rougher texture wool, which will make, like, big, knobby, gross shapes in the wool when I lay it out. Because I don't want this to be, like, a smooth fabric that I end up making. I want it to be questionable looking. Yeah, also, I just noticed somebody mentioned the Discord. Thank you for reminding me. But the Discord is, it was created by Crystal. Thank you again, Crystal, so much. If you go to the Discord, you can share the stuff you're making with us. If you want to chat about best way to do something, or you just want some help, or you want to make some friends that are into D&D and making things too, please go there. I want that to be like a really great community gathering place for all of us, so we can make our own little fun friend group of people who like to play and make stuff. What else did I get here? These are wool locks in black. That's the same as this brown. I got some undyed stuff, too, just because I wanted to see what the natural hair looked like. This actually has bugs and hay in it, which is super scrummy, if you ask me. I'm really excited to play with this and see if I can dye it, and then maybe just kind of use some of it the way it is in with the rest. And I'll be doing a whole stream about all my tips and tricks for felting stuff and creating your own fabrics. I really prefer this method to trying to find the perfect fabric, because you probably will find the perfect fabric, but it may not be in your budget, or you may not be able to order it in time for your event, or, you know, there's a million reasons why it won't work out. So having a lot of this stuff on hand, creating your own fabrics can be super, super helpful, and you can get exactly what you want and get, like, as crazy in-depth with your ideas as you want. And look at this color. This is gross. Ugh. What is this called? Laburnum. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Some of these brighter colors are just going to be very, very thinly layered in. So there will be little pops of color, and we'll have a lot of fun creating our own designs in that fabric. I'm so excited, you guys! This was such a fun stream. Thanks for being patient with my technical difficulties today. I'm going to really try to work that out, because that's frustrating for me too. Coming up next, right here on this channel, is Greg Tito and I think Shelly. Sometimes Shelly's there, sometimes she's not, but I love when Shelly's there. I love Shelly so much. And Greg. Greg's cool too. But they're doing Dragon Talk. I think they're going to talk more about the book Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, not Foam of Toes. So stay in the chat if you've got questions about that. I think they're going to be talking a lot about Mordenkainen too, so if you don't even know who Mordenkainen is, or Murdy-Curdy, as we like to call him on the internet. But yeah, also thank you to Sirenscape. Check out the Instagram for Craft Hags. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at Danny Hartel if you just want to talk to me about stuff. I'm always on there. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys, and have a great week. Bye!